Good morning everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be back. I'm really excited about today's video. I'm going to be going through my top 5 books of 2023. I've always been a very avid reader, but this year especially I've been getting into it a lot. I hope you guys enjoy. If you have heard of any of these books or if you like any of these books, leave me a comment down below letting me know which one you read, why you liked it, and if you guys have any book recommendations for 2024, please leave them down below. I would love to hear what recommendations you have. I'm always looking for something new to read. I actually have like a little list explaining like what I want to say about each book. So if I'm like looking down or reading a little bit, that's what I'm looking at. The first book I want to talk about is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Gurmis. So this book is a historical fiction, and I'm gonna be honest, I've never would have thought that I would have loved historical fiction as much as I love this book. This book's main character is Elizabeth Zott. She is a woman and a chemist during the time of the 1950s, 1960s. So you can only imagine what kind of hoops she had to jump through in order to be a woman and a chemist, and also a single mother having to raise a child during this time. The book follows her entire life, her struggles, her career, her like raising a kid for the first time. It also goes through all the people that she's met along the way, her love interest Calvin. All the characters are so lively in this book. The entire storyline follows this woman's life, as I was saying, and it kind of just goes through how she's struggling and she gets offered this spot to be on a TV show. I will give a trigger warning that there is mentions of SA in here, and there's about one chapter that descriptively goes through an experience that Elizabeth has with SA. I feel like not having that part of the book doesn't really get the full message across, so it is a very important scene. I know that they're making I believe it's Amazon, I could totally be wrong. They're making a TV show or a movie. As you can tell, I really don't know. But I do know that something's being filmed based off of this book. If you guys want to get into a show, but you like reading the book like I do, or if you know that there's movies out there with books, which are probably one of my personal favorites, I definitely recommend this. Okay, so the next book I'm super excited to talk about, because this is also another genre I did not expect I would get into. So the book that I read this year is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about this book, but I really like it, especially for somebody who's never read fantasy or gotten into fantasy. I think that this is an amazing book to get you into it. The book follows our main protagonist. Her name is Feyre. I believe I'm saying that right. And it's basically, she's a young huntress and she's in the woods. The whole beginning scene starts off with her killing this wolf, which ends up being one of the High Lord fairies. It's really hard. There's like the human world and then the fairy world. This book reminds me kind of like Beauty and the Beast. After she kills this wolf, she has to pay the debt back and she has to go live with the Higher Lord because she ended up killing one of the higher fairies. So the higher fairy that takes her, his name is Tamlin. They kind of fall for each other, but you don't really know what's gonna happen. I will say towards the end of this book, it gets really good. Like the whole beginning is building the world, and then the end of it is like really tapping into the adventure and the characters. So I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars only because I don't think it was like perfect, but for my very first fantasy read, it's amazing. I'm more of a romance girly, so I would have loved some more romance in this book. This entire series is for people in their 20s who have graduated from the YA genre, so this really isn't considered YA. The rest of the series I know is a little more romantic. But yeah, really good book. I really enjoyed this book. I think you guys would too if you want to get into fantasy. So yeah. Okay, this next book I'm super excited to talk about. I think this was probably one of my favorites of this year, but it is Icebreakers by Hannah Grace. If you guys are like a character-driven book, this is a good book. So the story is a college romance following our main character Anastasia and Nathan. Anastasia is an aspiring Olympic figure skater, and Nathan is the captain of the college ice hockey team. He's also an NHL prospect. So there is an incident that happens on their campus where they're forced to have to share a rink with each other, and this causes a bunch of issues, but it also is the start of their relationship. This book is a perfect example of reverse grumpy sunshine, and I love this trope so much. I just am obsessed with the character building. You will fall in love with Nate and his entire hockey team. It is very, very funny. I've also never read a sports romance book. I thought this was gonna be like too technical for me, but I like hockey. I'm not really into figure skating, but there's a lot of figure skating terms in here, which are kind of cool to learn about. But you'll easily fall in love with these characters. So the next book that's in my top 5 is one that I've actually heard so many mixed reviews about, but it is Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I want to preface this by saying first that this book, I think all Colleen Hoover books are good for first-time readers who want to get into romance genre. I don't think that they're the best written. It's a okay book. It's pretty good. I think the reason why I loved it so much is because of the trope. It's best friend's brother. The story follows Tate Collins. She's like goody Miss Two Shoes. She's a nurse studying hard, super smart. She lives with her brother. She ends up meeting Miles, who's her brother's best friend. He lives down the hall from them. And it's one of those like, they're really, really attracted to each other, so it just only turns into like a hookup, but it gets more complicated. They want to be with each other, but they can't, and he's like a bad boy, has a traumatic past. It's like very atypical. I think that overall this is a really good book, especially if you guys want to get started with reading. This is a really, really good novel. She also has super quick reads. Out of all the Colleen Hoover books, this one rated high for me, so I definitely think that this one's pretty good. Okay, so the last and final book today is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is also another historical fiction. Like I said, never thought I would get into historical fiction. I know this book was really popular about 2 years ago, but I just started reading it. I heard it was a really good one. Like I said, I'm getting back into reading, so this one rated pretty high for me. The story starts off with Monique. She is an aspiring journalist who hasn't really made her break in the industry yet. So she ends up getting a gig with the mysterious 1960s Hollywood actress Evelyn Hugo. She gets this kind of like interview, and basically the book follows Evelyn's life all the way from start to finish when she was a child up until basically following each and every single one of her 7 husbands, her experiences. I really think that Evelyn herself is an amazing character. She's so complicated but yet interesting to really read about at the same time. Towards the end of the book is when it gets really good. It's a little bit more, what's the word? Like, it's very meaningful. It has a lot of meaning, and there's a lot of, I don't want to say it's wordy, but there's a lot of like life meaning to it. If you guys are into that, if you guys are into really, really, I wouldn't even say sad books, but it definitely made me tear up. It was a very emotional book. Want to get into historical fiction, or if you're just a new reader who's looking for something good to read, I highly recommend this. So that is it for my book wrap up of 2023. I only did a top 5 for this year because, like I said, I just started getting back into reading. I am no way a scholar or a literary genius, or I do not major in English. If you guys are just reading for fun, or like drama and romance and want to get into reading, I'm your girl. These were all very, very popularized books in the past 2 years, I would say. So in no way are these amazing books, but to me that they were pretty amazing for getting back into reading. If you guys want to follow me along on my book journey, or just even see what I'm going to be reading next in the new year, please subscribe down below. Like I said in the beginning of the video, if you guys want to leave a comment down below letting me know if you've read any of these books, or if you guys have a book recommendation, please leave it in the comments. I'm always looking for something new to read, and it's definitely turned into addiction, so I'm very, very excited. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video, and I will see you next time. Bye!